welcome to LUPUS UK's Coffee and Chat. My name is Champrit Korwalia and I'm the Social Media Officer at LUPUS UK. And today I'm excited to speak with the lovely Komal, who is both a lupus patient and a master of yoga. LUPUS UK was thrilled when Komal approached his charity and asked to hold yoga classes in aid of our amazing supporters. Komal was a healer and a guide at heart. Her relationship with yoga and meditation has been deep-rooted in her through her Indian upbringing and close connection to her mother. Komal has trained intensively in Hatha yoga to a level of 500 plus hours throughout India, France, London, and California. Komal has more than 12 years of teaching experience, and I was lucky enough to join one of her amazing classes last month, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So please help me in welcoming Komal. Welcome, Komal.
Hi, Champrit. It's so lovely to be here with you. And thank you so much for the very generous introduction.
Oh, well deserved. And thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you on here. So I was going to say, Komal, shall we start by giving the viewers a quick clip of your World Lupus Day campaign?
This May 10th, on World Lupus Day, I want to invite you to a free Hatha yoga taster together with LUPUS UK. I am Komal Yogi, a Hatha yoga practitioner for now 12 years, and as a lupus patient myself, I've had to find alternative ways to support my well-being and more gentle ways of exercising. This May 10th, on World Lupus Day, let me share with you the Hatha yoga practice that has supported me through 20 years of inflammatory conditions. With all my love.
Okay, so Komal, we had a lovely chat over the phone a couple of weeks ago, and I got to learn a lot about your yoga journey and how it all began for you. So would you mind resharing your story for all the viewers at home watching this now?
Yes, so I came to yoga due to a DVT that I experienced on my left leg. So I have lupus, as many other viewers might also have. And doing yoga, I realized that I could walk a lot better, and it really helped with the blood flow in my leg. But then when I had the DVT, I was on crutches for quite a long time. I was very much into sports, and I had to stop running, stop weight training. I found the whole period very difficult emotionally as well, because I was so used to exercising, and I felt so disabled in a way, and my self-esteem was also very much crushed at the fact that I couldn't move as I was used to moving. So then I did go for quite a bit of physiotherapy, and obviously I was always on medication and following my doctor's instructions and advice. But when I figured that if I went to yoga once per week at the gym, really, I used to go to David Lloyd at that time. And I realized that if I just took one yoga session per week, a slow Hatha yoga, deep asana session, that my blood flow in my leg was very much improved, and many of the pains that I was usually experiencing were diminished. And so I was very encouraged in that regard. And I was working as a brand manager at that time. I had a corporate role, but eventually yoga really captivated my heart, particularly the fact that I could work more closely with people and be a part of people's journey and process, which has always satisfied me very much to do that.
You want to just maybe explain what DVT is for some of the viewers, because they may not know, so it might be quite good for them to know.
Sure. So DVT stands for deep vein thrombosis. Basically, it is a big blood clot. And when you have a blood clot, your limb is very much incapacitated for a couple of weeks. So in my case, my leg was very big and heavy and lumpy. And a couple of years after, I had another DVT as well. A few years later, I had a second DVT, an iliofemoral DVT, which was quite large, and that my leg became even lumpier and heavier. But fortunately, I was already, it was quite terrible. It was a difficult time in my life to go through. that DVT. I mean, lupus has hit me from various angles. I've had a plethora of different clots, 5 different clots. I've also had a pulmonary embolism as well. And then I've had lupus affect my skin for a couple of years, which was extremely difficult to face as a woman. It just really affected my self-image. I had patches, black patches all over my face and my body, and then it's kind of hit me in many different ways. I've also had hemorrhages, so low platelet count and different things. But I personally, I mean, I've always been under the guidance of my doctors and always been very responsible with my medication. But as a support tool, I found yoga to be incredibly helpful, because I mean, not only from the movement side of things, but it also calms my nervous system down. And I feel like a lot of my lupus is very much connected to my stress levels. So if I am able to keep the stress level down, then my symptoms subside as well, and I heal.
Yeah, I mean, with lupus, stress is a key trigger of lupus, and we always do say, if there's a way that you can do even 5 minutes of meditation a day, it really helps with bringing down those stress levels, giving yourself just 5 minutes in the day just for yourself to like relax and really enjoy your own time. And I think that's so important for anyone, really, not just anyone with lupus, but anyone actually. And that kind of leads me on to the next question. So I've heard a lot of amazing things about yoga, but what is the difference between yoga and Hatha yoga?
So yoga is really just one, and yoga is a word that we use in Sanskrit to allude to the experience of feeling content, grounded, centered, feeling in trust with the present moment. So it's a sense of being. Yoga is more a sense of being. It's been used now to refer to the exercise itself of yoga as an exercise. What we do in a yoga class is really should be referred to more as asanas and pranayama. Asanas are postures, which are the postures that we do in the yoga class, and pranayama is breath work. And all asanas and all pranayama are basically just one kind of yoga. There aren't various different types of yoga as we see it being marketed in these days. And you know, every couple of years somebody will come up with a new style of yoga and a new way of doing an asana. And in reality, for the posture and the breath work to have the impact that they are known for, so for it to really have a positive impact on the nervous system and reduce inflammations, and for it to be a support tool for our health, it needs to be practiced in the classical way, which is to hold the posture for a prolonged period of time, direct the attention towards a specific part of the body, and for the breath to accompany that. The pranayama, breath work, needs to accompany that. So there isn't a difference. Today there is a major difference between vinyasa yoga, ashtanga yoga, iyengar yoga, hatha yoga, because we have marketed we've packaged it in different ways. You know, different schools will teach postures in a different style, but in reality, yoga is just one. Yoga is just one.
That kind of stems from the same place, and then it just kind of goes into different directions a little bit.
Yes, in fact, there is one book which is called the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and if you go through the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, you will see all the asanas and all the pranayams that are now practiced in Vinyasa, Ashtanga, Iyengar, Bikram yoga in this book. So it all comes from the same thing. And what differs from one style of yoga and the other are the length of time that you hold the postures for, the order in which you hold the postures for, and the amount of asanas, the amount of postures that you practice within one sequence. And I have an opinion in regards to this in terms of lupus and which styles suit lupus patients more. Really. One has to be careful because today there are many styles of yoga that are not even yoga at all, and they work as a form of exercise, but they don't have the desired impact on the nervous system and inflammation levels.
Oh, right. That's quite interesting. I didn't know that at all. So what kind of yoga could help someone with lupus, and like what are the main benefits of practicing yoga then?
Yeah, so if you have lupus or any other kind of immune disorder, it is really important that you look for a practice that is slow, where you are holding the postures for a minimum amount of 1 minute, for example, per posture, and that the attention, whoever is leading the class needs to encourage you to keep your attention steady, because yoga isn't just an act of the body, it is body and mind, your attention. And the attention and mind are very linked to stress levels and the nervous system. If you're able to direct the attention to the present moment, as you said, Champrit, earlier, you find that many of the lupus clan, they practice meditation for a little bit, which is essentially bringing the attention to the present moment. If you manage to bring the attention to the moment, then automatically you are able to reduce stress levels. So for this, I would encourage people to look into Hatha yoga, which is the style that I'm teaching and the style that we are sharing on Lupus UK as well. This is what I'm teaching every Wednesday for Lupus UK, Hatha yoga, or Iyengar yoga, yoga nidra, or yin yoga. These styles are very slow paced, and technique is very much encouraged. Correct technique is encouraged, and people are encouraged to direct the attention to the body, which is very important, as opposed to a fast-paced yoga class where there isn't much time, especially if you're a lupus patient and if you have inflammatory issues with your what's it called, your
joints,
tendons, joints, with your joints. So if you have issues with your joints, then you really do need to do a slow-paced yoga class, because technique and alignment are very important in diminishing risk of injury. If you go to a fast-paced yoga class and you don't take the amount of time to check, is my knee in alignment, is my shoulder in alignment, am I tucking my hip in correctly, and you already have a joint problem or inflammation, high levels of inflammation in your body, that yoga becomes a risk to you rather than a support tool. You know, if you don't like Hatha yoga, or if you don't like, to slow your attention, to slow down your attention, you really do need to, despite that, find a slow-paced yoga, which becomes a challenge many times, because many students, when they practice yoga, they also come because they want to lose weight. And they say, I want to sweat. Yes. And so then they want the class to go faster, because they want to sweat, they want to get their heart rate up faster. But it isn't necessary that you should get your heart rate up and that you should get yourself worked up to that level in order to lose weight with yoga. You can lose weight by holding a posture with a normal heart rate, and not, exertion doesn't necessarily mean effectiveness with yoga.
I can imagine, like, pacing yourself and doing a posture correctly really does benefit more. I mean, like, firsthand, just from joining one of your classes, by the end of it, I was sweating, and I was like, I can't believe that this has actually happened from yoga. Like, I really thought I had done like a spin class or something, and I can tell you right now, like, the next day I was aching. And I was like, wow, I can't believe how much of that one yoga class had an impact on me. But it was just like one of those things that once I had done it, I was like, I need to do this again. Like this really, I feel like this works for me. I was like, it's gentle enough, but then it's also like it makes an impact. So I can totally see what you're saying. You don't need to have a fast-paced class in order for you to feel the benefits and the work from it. So that was really cool for me. It was a nice experience myself. I was just gonna say, so I know that you touched upon say someone that may have had like some joint problems, muscle aches and stuff. But if say someone is experiencing a flare and they can't really do much in terms of that moment, is there anything that you could recommend, like maybe breathing exercises or like some gentle meditation? Like what could you recommend to them?
Yes, totally. And I think if the person is having a flare, and I would encourage them to check on their pain level. Like if you're feeling, if you're literally feeling ill, then I would recommend not doing anything and waiting for your body to recuperate. And you know, when you're feeling ill, there's already a large mechanism of the body in place trying to bring things back to balance. So if you add in asanas and pranayam on top of that, then sometimes it's a bit too much for the body to digest. I myself, sometimes I have my joints flare up sometimes, and I just have to take a pause from certain postures and not and just wait patiently, which is a practice in itself, because there's the fear of, if I don't do, then I will regress. And there's also the, you know, your self-esteem also gets affected there. Like, why do I have this disease? Why do I have to confront this? I wish my body were, you know, more on my side in that regard. And I would encourage that person, and it's a practice I do for myself as well, to practice empathy towards our bodies and practice compassion towards our body, and not always expect and demand. And I think compassion can be very healing in itself as an attitude towards oneself, and so and pacing things down. If you have a flare and the pain is not so much, and you feel like, actually, if you can go for a walk, then I would say you can definitely get on the mat. And there are more gentle things that you can do, like more gentle stretches and breathing exercises, which are very gentle and very helpful. Sometimes as helpful as doing postures. We underestimate the power of our breath. We think, I have to move in order to get things going in my body. Breath is very much connected to emotion. You can see that people's breath varies very much when they're angry, when they're stressed. When you're stressed, breath reduces itself to a bare minimum. You breathe at a very shallow level when you're stressed. And if you're able to expand that and expand your breath and breathe properly, and you superimpose relaxation on the nervous system. So yogis, they realize this from very early on, that my emotions are very much connected to my breath. Depending on what my emotion is, my breath changes. So therefore, I can use the breath to create the correct state of emotion that I want, such as relaxation and feeling centered and concentrated, which is what you can do when you are having a flare, for example.
Do you go over these breathing techniques during your classes, the ones that you'll be holding for Lupus UK? I mean, that you've already started holding them, but future lessons as well. Will you be dedicating a certain section of your yoga class to the breathing exercises, or is this something that you kind of do while you're doing the poses?
We do some of the breathing with the poses, because the breath helps the student to keep the attention in the body, which is part of reducing stress levels and reducing inflammation and accessing more depth in the posture. And then we also do a short segment of breathing alone towards the end of the practice. And it's been wonderful to see that because, and I've had a couple of students from Lupus UK come over to the sessions, and they all tell me that they feel so much more relaxed after the class, which is very satisfying. And I see it in their demeanor as well. So from the start of the session, from how they're moving and breathing at the start of the session to how they're moving and breathing towards the end of the session, there is a lot more poise and a lot more awareness in their movement, which is an indicator that, you know, parasympathetic nervous system is more active, has gained more prevalence above the sympathetic nervous system, which is wonderful. It's wonderful.
It is
to see the effect of it.
I mean, when I joined one of the classes at the end, when we were doing that breathing technique and just a bit of like me time, meditation time, I was so much more relaxed. And it didn't matter to me that my dog was literally running around me. It didn't even matter in that moment because I was so relaxed. And I was like, before when I joined the start of the session, my dog kept coming and I was like, move away. And then by the end of it, I was just like so zen, like nothing mattered. And I think that's so nice. And like you get all these like positive thoughts in your mind as well. And it's just so many different like benefits you can feel just from doing a bit of breathing and just taking that time out for yourself.
Yes. And I give them homework as well. I've given everyone from Lupus UK homework as well to do throughout the week, particularly to breathe through their nose because well, it's a very common thing to breathe through the mouth. Breathing through the mouth, there's a lot of research around the benefits of nostril breathing these days, fortunately, because I've always taught it from the yogic perspective. In the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it is very much encouraged to breathe through the nose. But fortunately now there is this whole bunch of research to back up nostril breathing as well, and the benefits, how it really does impact the nervous system as well, and the endocrine system, the digestive system, how it improves the quality of your sleep. You know, all of these things ultimately have an impact on your inflammation levels and on giving your body supporting your body in its healing process, because it's a support tool at the end of the day. I mean, you always need to accompany this with your doctor's advice and medication, but it works extremely well as a support tool. I would say the medication has a better impact as well in your body. Your body is able to respond to treatment much better as well if you provide it with the right input.
I remember you talking about actually breathing through the nose during the class, and like I could really like feel your passion and your determination to like help everyone in the class, and it was so nice to see. And especially like when you were calling people out and you were saying like move your leg up, do this, do that. I mean, that was really nice to see. So like, do you have any advice for like someone who's looking to take part in yoga and finding the right type of yoga class for them, and actually finding the right yoga teacher for them as well?
Well, I would very much encourage them to come to our class. That would be my first advice. Come to our yoga class. We're hosting a yoga class together with Lupus UK every Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the evening. And I think that's a very good starting point. If you want to look elsewhere, then as we were discussing earlier, I think the key things for you to look for is a class where steadiness is encouraged of the body, so that this means you have to hold the posture for a minimum of 1 minute. I mean, if you can hold the posture for 5 minutes, that's fantastic. There are some practices where you hold some postures for 10 minutes. Now, obviously, it depends on the degree of physical difficulty of the posture. There are some postures which are more physically demanding, so you will have to hold them for less. But always look for this. Don't be deceived into thinking I need to do a lot and I need to exert in order for this to have an impact on my body. It doesn't work like that. With yoga, less is more. And look for a practice where you are being led to hold your attention steadily in the body. It doesn't work if you're doing a posture and you're thinking about your to-do list, or you're thinking about your holiday, or you're worrying about, the worrying is part of the inflammation, the worrying is part of the stress. So we're using the posture as a tool to help you stay with the present moment. It is much easier to stay with the moment through an action, which is what the posture is giving to you, than for you to sit quietly and tell yourself, okay, well, now I want to stay with the present moment. That's harder. It's much easier to connect to the moment through movement, which is what the asana and the pranayama are there for. So I would highly encourage you to look for these things. And very important to speak to your teacher as well, and let the teacher know that you have lupus, or you have an immune disorder, or some other form of inflammatory disease, and that you're going to take things slower, that you need a little more help, please, to help you correct your alignment if need to. It's important to speak these things and tell the teacher, because nowadays there are many students who don't like being adjusted, and if you don't tell the teacher that you want to be adjusted, then the teacher might hold off from this, and it just helps for you to get the best out of your time in the class as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But do come to our class.
No, you definitely.
I'm
definitely encouraging everyone to come to the LUPUS UK Hatha class, but it's always just good to put it out there, just in case someone wanted to maybe attend a class in person rather than online. And that kind of leads me to my next question. Do you receive the same kind of benefits from attending an online class rather than going in an in-person class?
They both have their pros and cons. I would say if you're able to follow the instruction during an online class, and you really do need to make it a point, because most online classes are happening at home these days, where children are in the background, or sometimes I see some students trying to multitask in the class. So I'm going to do an email, and I see students with their phone right next to them, like, okay, well, I'm doing the class, and then all of a sudden I pick up my phone and I start texting someone, and I call that out usually, because if you're doing an online class, for it to have the benefit, you really do need to pay attention to the instruction. The teacher does give you feedback. I'm very vocal when feedback, in terms of feedback, and I am looking at the screen constantly. I'm looking at the students, and I try to provide as much feedback as I can. But you need to be in it. You need to be doing it wholeheartedly. I mean, if I'm, nothing can replace the value of a physical adjustment. I have to be honest. Nothing can replace the value of a physical adjustment. But if it is not possible for you to go to a live class, and online is a very good support tool. And if you're able to combine both, so that you're able to save the commute time, some of the commute time that you have to do in order to get to a live class during the week, then I think that's a good combination. So if you do an online class with a vocal teacher who's giving you the instruction and helping you to adjust through the verbal cues, and then combine that with a live class where you're getting the physical adjustment, but you have to speak to the teacher and ask them to give you the physical adjustment, and that's a good combination. But overall, if I am, being completely honest, I think live beats it all, to be honest. Live beats online for sure, because the presence of the teacher, the presence of the students, the physical adjustment has a tremendous value, and more value over verbal adjustment.
But I think one benefit that we have found actually through having our online classes, which are from 7 to 8 p.m. during a weekday, which is after like typical working hours, is also that people with lupus, some are still isolating, some still are not going out. And then this allows them to join a class and not feel isolated, like alone, not being able to join an in-person yoga class, because they can do it with you, which is actually perfect. So I think this is quite good that we offer this type of thing, and hopefully in the future we can offer a bit more when you hopefully will be showing us some different techniques for perhaps people that aren't able to maybe move, and they can do some yoga on a chair or sitting down.
Yes, totally. Yes. Yes, it has there's a major benefit to having the class online at that time. You know, not having to commute. If you're working from home, if you have kids or like a family to take care of as well, it's much easier. You just, you know, you lay your mat out, you turn the computer on, and that's it. Within an hour, you're done. It's finished. Yes.
And we really appreciate that you've taken the time to do this for us as well. Because I know that you, at the moment, you're based in the US and the timings are completely different for you. So the fact that you're so dedicated to offering this class for us is like an absolute honor. So we do thank you so much, and we really appreciate all that you are doing for Lupus UK and our lovely supporters.
Well, I got very lucky to have you who was so receptive and willing to try this out. I got very lucky myself, so thank you. It's very close to my heart, you know, having lived through it. I've seen the value of yoga in my health and what yoga has done in my journey with lupus, and I feel like it is my duty to speak of it and to share it with others. Yes.
Thank you ever so much for joining me, Komal. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. So you can follow Komal on Instagram using the handle @Komi_yogi. Also, a big thank you to all the viewers at home who have tuned in to watch this coffee and chat. My name is Champrit Kawalia from Lupus UK. Please follow us on Instagram using the handle @Lupus_UK. Take care and thank you so much. See you.